Like an empty plastic cola bottle trapped in driftwood floating to the shore, John Kerry's back.
He really is the rare combination of a 8-year-old boy. I mean, he's got the maturity of an 8-year-old boy with the insecurity of a teenage girl. That's who he is.
How can he move his face? Now, he's got a new book out, and it's really a true reflection of Kerry. The book's awful, and it, too, is made from wood. But there is some news in there. Apparently, while the Trump administration was busy with their own foreign policy, Kerry was busy with his own.
There are people in the intelligence community who say that you've been telling the Iranians to wait out President Trump and the administration and to wait until there's a Democratic president in 2021. Is that accurate?
Well, I think everybody in the world is sitting around talking about waiting out President Trump. Every Secretary of State, former Secretary of State, continues to meet with foreign leaders, goes to security conferences, goes around the world. We all do that.
See, that's what happens when an anchor actually reads the book. So I'm thinking holding secret meetings with a regime that's openly hostile to the American people seems a little like, what's that word? Hobby, backstabbing. Oh, how about collusion? Yep, for 2 years, we've watched the media chase a phantom in an effort to undo an election. Meanwhile, Captain Corkboard here is meeting with the enemy, giving them cryptic advice on Trump. Now, you might think, how's this different from working with North Korea? Well, Kerry is not the Secretary of State. It's not his job. And it might even be illegal to have an alternative foreign policy going on that's separate from the White House. Even more, it's worse to have it run from this guy in his basement in his spare time. And even when he was the secretary, who could forget his crowning achievement of international diplomacy?
All you got to do is call, and I will be there. Yes, I'll be there. You got a friend.
Yep. Yeah, when Kerry had the job, that was foreign policy. Today, that might be an act of war. Or just the act of an 8-year-old boy with the insecurity of a teenage girl, but taller. All right, we got a lot of smart people here. Let's go around the table. Against the law, Logan Act. Is this treason, Jesse?
Lock him up. That chant was for him, not Hillary. I think Kerry owes an apology to teenage girls because when I was in high school, I was much more insecure than the girls that I was in the class with. I honestly think this is all about just giving CPR to his legacy, because when you think about his whole trajectory, he served honorably in Vietnam, and then he kind of tarnished that service when he came back and disparaged his fellow soldiers. Then he lost in a kind of a humiliating fashion to George W. Bush. Now, a nuclear deal as Secretary of State's kind of like the crown jewel for these people, especially Democrats. So Trump comes in, just rips up the piece of paper, and Kerry's left saying, oh, what do I have left? So he's desperate to salvage this thing. And could you imagine if Mike Pompeo in 7.5 years, or maybe longer, goes out and tries to undermine the current Democratic presidential administration? He would get hammered by the media. I mean, you don't see Bill Clinton going down to Mexico City and trying to save NAFTA after Trump rips that up. It's unseemly, and he should be called out for it.
Well, he does go to Mexico City, but not for that. What? Kerry met in Paris with enemy envoys, in 1970? He met with Daniel Ortega while Reagan was president. That was outrageous. This guy is a traitor.
Is that right, Gregory?
A traitor, I say.
You got it, Gregory. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Greg Swift-boating him over.
I'm telling you. We're back to that. We're back to that. What I agree with you about is that the interviewer did a good job, Ms. Dana Perino. But I will say that
we recommended questions, right?
It was Jesse. It was Jesse. You interfered, you know.
No, they wanted me to ask about John what's his name?
James Taylor?
James Taylor.
You were going to say John Tesh.
Close enough, right?
Hey, give her a break.
Yes.
All right, anyway,
yes.
Back to the news. I think that there's a big difference to be made, a distinction to be made between negotiating, and I don't think he's negotiating, and talking and saying, which I think everybody says who's not a Trump fan, look, take it easy. Don't overreact. Don't get angry. Don't think that somehow this is an invitation now for you to go after Israel or do something else or to relaunch your nuclear program. take it easy. Let's talk about that. I don't think there's anything criminal about that.
He's undermining this administration. By the way, that was a great interview, and you got him to admit, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm sort of doing this, but isn't everybody doing this? I mean, he hates this president so much, as so many on the left do, that they think that they're totally fine, basically, to use your word, commit treason. They think it's okay. They're justified because they think there's some bigger, greater purpose that they're serving. The American people didn't know what they were doing when they elected Donald Trump. He's rationalizing to himself, I need to save the country. I need to save the people. I mean, you can go back to the anonymous article in the New York Times, right? The anonymous op-ed, where there's this sense that there's this greater good that they're somehow performing, and Kerry's part of it.
Yeah, no, if you believe that it's evil, then everything's acceptable. Dana, do you remember when everybody got upset about when, during the Trump transition, Donald Trump made some phone calls? Everybody was like, oh, my God, Logan Act.
He made the first phone call to Taiwan.
Yes.
And that was like, whoa, the Chinese are going to get so mad. And like a lot of the neocons were like, yes, this is awesome. We love that. I also remember when Nancy Pelosi, during the Bush administration, Bush 43's administration, went to Syria to meet with Assad.
That's right.
With a photo op and everything, right? So treason's in the eye of the beholder. She thought she was going and being very helpful and having talks. Meanwhile, the Bush administration is having an actual sanctions talk at the UN. So there is a problem. You have to wait. It's also what Mike Flynn is accused of doing when he called Ambassador Kislyak and he talked about sanctions, which was against Obama administration policy. Yeah, could he have waited? Yeah, maybe, but not that big a deal because it's like 2 weeks later. His problem is that then he lied about it.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Did you read it? You read his book, didn't you?
I read most of it. It is 600 pages. And that same weekend, I had to read Woodward's book, so I sort of felt like I was studying for a finals.
I would like to make an announcement. I am now a member of Dana's book club. She invited me.
That's right. But that's right.
Well, you sound like you're having second thoughts. Am I a real member? Or?
No, you can be a member.
What's the first assignment?
Well,
is it a Hardy book?
He read Fear.
No, I'm reading Fear.
Oh, reading.
I haven't finished it. But
So you guys can get together and
I have a
talk
life.
about...
I mean, I'm very busy.
I don't. I read a novel this weekend.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about
it.
I saw a movie.
What'd
Which
you say?
one?
I saw Mandy, the new Nicolas Cage movie. It's amazing. It's like being trapped in a heavy metal song with demons.
That sounds
It's
horrible.
fantastic. No, it's great.
I had a better time. I went to see Paul Simon. So I was like the youngest person there.
Wait, you've seen ZZ Top and Paul Simon. Man, Juan, you're getting around.
What did you do, Trish?
Oh, I had an amazing, amazing weekend. I'm actually going to talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a
one more
tease.
thing tease right there.